Hey everybody, welcome to Jeff and Paper Gary. It is Saturday, June 6th, and we're back for another day in the garage. Today's episode will be titled The Growing Bucket of Shame. So we made an addition to the Bucket of Shame yesterday when I accidentally, somehow, still not even sure what happened, double punched or put a bonus hole in this spar. This is the small spar that goes into the left elevator where the trim tab mounts. Thanks, air compressor. June 6th, take 2. Okay, so sorry about that. Air compressor did what air compressor does. So yeah, made an addition to the Bucket of Shame yesterday when we double punched or bonus holed. I'm not sure what happened still on this spar. And then, mistakes are made, and the emotional reaction is sometimes, damn it, Vans, why didn't you tell me in the instructions? And then I kind of start to think, yes, it should be me. I should know better at this point. And so we made another mistake on the same part. So super painful. So in typical fashion, I had a spare part. I had another one of these laying around, so I went to go put it to good use, and I broke that one too. In the instructions, when you're putting together the skeleton for the left elevator, it gives you all the instructions to put everything together and match drill and blah, blah, blah. And then it says disassemble, deburr, and dimple. So you disassemble, deburr, and you dimple everything. And then the next step says, oh, but wait, some of these things should be machine countersunk instead of dimpled. Okay, so for instance, this spar that we're looking at, and I don't know what the part number is because I've cleaned it off, but the top half of it does not get dimpled. It gets machine countersunk because the hinge material mounts up to the bottom of this. This is my fault for not reading ahead, but you know what, Vans, you've got directions that are counterintuitive or contradict each other, because it says disassemble skeleton and dimple. Doesn't say, hey, note, some things should be machine countersunk, and there's more than just this. So heads up to all of you that are watching that are going to hit this stage. T-Flight Tim warned me about it. I forgot. I went back and watched his video last night, and that's when I made the realization that, crap, I dimpled both sides of this. So put in an order for a new spar. I don't think that I can go undimple and then countersink. Undimpling is one thing, but if you undimple and then try to go countersink, I'm not sure that that's going to be a wise use of material. So into the Bucket of Shame this goes. Into the Bucket of the Shame another one will go, and then we'll get a third one and hopefully not screw that one up as well. So today I am working on the right elevator, riveting this structure together. So hang out, stay tuned. Let's see what we learn.
Well, hopefully what we learned is a lesson that I have been unable to learn so far, and that is read the instructions 3 times over and read the steps in advance so that I can stop making costly mistakes because of my lack of knowledge or the old Vans trickery of setting up a step that's somewhat out of order. But anyway, on to things. Really important here on this one, and the assembly is pretty straightforward, but it's not hard to kind of get into your zone here and forget like which side of the spar you're working on. Make sure that you get those nut plates on the back side of the spar, or the area that will be facing into the elevator. The channeled section, right, is where you're going to be able to rivet from the skin with your squeezer, and those eyelets will screw in from that side. So stop, pause, triple check, make sure that you have your backing plates, your doublers, and your nut plates all in the right size or right sides. And then I think the assembly here is -5 rivets for the single plate to the spar, -6 rivets for the double plate when you go through the backing plate and the reinforcement plate and the spar, and then -7s when you go through all 3 of those plus the nut plate. Don't quote me on that, of course, check your instructions. But here, we're just going through and getting some of the machine countersinking in place. And again, machine countersinking, be very careful. You can go break apart really quickly on those things if you get too aggressive, too much pressure, too much speed. I have found in my limited experience that slow speed, low pressure is kind of the way to go when it comes to the the countersinking. If nothing else, I think it cuts better that way. I think you get a better product. But if nothing else, you'll start to get that chatter or that indication very early on before you go too much damage, and you can go fix it, right? So even sometimes using the hand deburring tool is good for countersinking if you're in an area where you need to be very careful or crucial, or there are some of the areas on the edge, like the holes that are on the edge, so the wide edge of that spar, you got 4 holes back there that are going to get machine countersunk. And you have to, sometimes the cage on your countersink tool might be too big to get those, the outermost 2, right, because of the curve of the flange. So you can get in there with that hand tool, and that'll help you out. So nothing all that remarkable. I will point out, make sure that you get that rudder horn on, the elevator horn on in the correct orientation. It is possible to go put that thing 90 degrees out of phase, if you will, and then you're going to have to go drill out rivets and put it back into place. So other than that, everything here is pretty straightforward. There are going to be some rivets that you're going to have to buck, and needing that offset tool that you saw, the offset rivet set that you saw me using earlier to get into a few of those things is going to be very helpful and very necessary. But it goes together pretty well, you know. It takes some time once you get it in to the structure, right? There's a ton of rivets to go squeeze, right, up both edges and then all the way across, but nothing too remarkably difficult. This is also the place where you're going to add in that lead counterweight, and things get really awkward at that point because it adds a whole bunch of weight that's sticking way up high on the wing, so it changes your whole CG and everything on there. It's a little bit awkward to deal with. Now, there are a couple things I do want to point out on this. One, the 713, which is that strip of metal that wraps around, I think the 703, 704 ribs and holds the lead counterbalance in place. There's an area that it calls to bevel on the trailing and inboard edge where the skin goes up over that, and it's really to help that skin just transition a little bit smoother instead of having a 90-degree cut. I know it seems kind of small, but if you take a file and just file that down a little bit, kind of like the edge of your spatula, you'll find that that transition is a little bit smoother and a little bit nicer. And then your first step is to rivet 2 of these lowermost inboard rivets on each side of the skin, the top and the bottom, for the 713 to the skin. And this is me reviewing probably Tim's video just to make sure I'm doing things right here. But you rivet those 2 on each side first, and then you have just this 713 strip stuck to the skin, and then you push your skeleton inside of that. And they do that because you can't access those rivets once the skeleton is in. So if you do those 2 first, you'll get this whole thing put together without having to do any blind riveting. And so it's not that bad, right? Go ahead and stick those things in there, and then it goes together fine. And then you saw me using that machine or that hand deburring tool to go do a little bit more countersink on those holes where the 2 screws go in to hold that lead block. And so now this is just putting in a bunch of clecos and then going through and squeezing them all. Pretty basic stuff. And I don't think you need any kind of special yokes to reach anything. They're all pretty much reachable with your standard yoke set. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you again soon for the next one.
Hey everyone, that's going to do it for today. It's a little after 2 o'clock and I've got to get on with some other things. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I feel we're at a good stopping point, and I feel that I made some good progress today. We'll come back tomorrow on Sunday and finish up the riveting of all of the elevators. So we should be able to knock out the right elevator. Part order was placed. That's not true. Part was put in my basket at Vans. Sunday we'll click go, and we'll order that spar so that we can get the other elevator knocked out next weekend. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please take care of yourselves and each other. This is Jeff and Paper Gary out.